Engaging students and families in the transition process. Our learning objectives for this section include to establish a foundation for engaging students and families in the transition process, review strategies for engagement, and review the long-term impact of student and family engagement. So high-leverage practices in the area of collaboration and instruction are important in special education. Collaboration practices include organize and facilitate effective meetings with professionals and families, and collaborate with families to support learning and secure needed services. High leverage practices in instruction include identify and prioritize long and short-term goals and use strategies to promote active student engagement. So each student with a disability must have a post-school goal in the area of education and employment, and when appropriate, have goals in the area of independent living. But what are the predictors of achieving these goals after leaving high school? So NTAC-C, the National Technical Assistance Center on Transition, the collaborative, has conducted research reviews and looked at which predictors correlate with increased positive outcomes in the areas of education, employment, and independent living for youth with disabilities. If students are exposed to these predictor areas while they're in high school, they show increased positive outcomes as an adult. So looking at this list, we note that parent expectations and youth autonomy decision-making are predictors of post-school success in the areas of education and employment. Furthermore, parental or family involvement is also a predictor of employment outcomes. Take a moment to notice which predictors impact all three areas. So the predictor of family engagement means that parents, families, or guardians are active and knowledgeable participants in all aspects of transition planning. This includes decision-making, providing support, attending meetings, and advocating for their child. We want families, beginning when their child is young, to hold expectations that their child will attend a post-secondary education institution and be competitively employed in the community in an integrated setting with other employees without disabilities. So teachers, begin early. Don't wait until age 14. Have high expectations for all of your students. Use family-friendly language, no jargon. Provide multiple options for involvement, such as a pre-IEP planning input, flexible IEP meeting times, and alternate ways to obtain input into the transition planning process. Establish a welcoming atmosphere in the school by developing a system of ongoing communication and interaction. This could include email, notes home visits, regularly scheduled meetings in addition to your IEP meetings. Provide information and resources to parents through a variety of means at each stage of the transition planning process. Value families as active participants in the IEP PTP process. Staff can share transition assessment results with parents so that parents can use that information to provide training for their child in the home and in the community, and then also assist with identifying natural supports. Connect families with transition resources and agencies in the community. Link parents with support networks. Support time during meetings for questions and clarification. And then ensure a connection to the academic and career planning process during the PTP discussion. So to increase family engagement even further, consider the following reflective questions to assure that cultural needs of the family and students have been addressed. So does the family understand the transition process and its importance? How are you going to create a safe space for the meeting, both location and so that all family members feel comfortable sharing? Does the student have the self-advocacy skills needed to fully participate in their meeting, and do they understand the importance of doing so? Does the student have a relationship with an adult, it could be a school staff member, a community member, a family member, that allows them to feel connected, grow, and share? Is that person invited to the meeting? And have you considered different ways to reach out to families that connect to their cultural needs? So why do these responsibilities exist? Research shows that students and parents who are engaged in the transition process are more likely to be employed, able to set achievable goals for themselves, and ultimately have positive post-school outcomes. Note that some of the research up here is outdated, but represents what we have known as best practice for a while. But often we do not think of this practice as improving outcomes. So the purpose of inviting the student to the IEP meeting is to allow the student to participate fully in the development of his or her transition plan. An effort should be made to schedule the meeting at a time that the student is able to attend. The invitation to the student to attend their IEP meeting should be extended well in advance of the meeting and must be extended prior to the IEP meeting. The invitation may be either written or verbal. Steps should be taken to prepare the student to participate in the IEP meeting prior to the meeting. This could include helping the student to understand the purpose and components of the transition plan. Consideration could be given to assigning the student specific tasks that they could carry out at the IEP meeting, such as communicating their interests and goals and helping the student practice those tasks in advance of the meeting. An obtainable long-term goal would be to have the student self-direct his or her IEP meeting. Here are 4 strategies that you can use to increase family engagement in the transition process. First, share the Wisconsin Transition app with your students and their families. I will go into more details on this on the next slide. Second, make the connection between the academic and career planning process and the PTP academic and career planning, which is a state requirement for students beginning in 6th grade. ACP is intended to equip students and their families with the tools necessary to make more informed choices about post-secondary education, training, and careers for life after high school. It is part of DPI's overall vision for every student to graduate high school academically, socially, emotionally, and life ready. So the post-secondary transition plan, or the PTP, is required by both state and federal law, and in Wisconsin begins at age 14. These 2 programs together, and in fact a robust ACP program, can fulfill many of the pre-ET services in the PTP. Third, work with your students on leading their IEP meeting. And lastly, work to ensure interagency collaboration while students are in school to make the transition to adult services easier for both the student and the family. So lastly, the Wisconsin Transition app is designed to help Wisconsin students and family members participate in the transition planning process. The app helps students give input into the requirements of the state and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which is the IDEA post-secondary transition plan. The app is written in family-friendly language and exposes users to pre-employment transition services. The results from the app can be saved or shared with others through email. So now let's take a moment to hear from a parent's perspective on family engagement in the transition planning process.
As a parent of 2 children with IEPs in school, I am speaking from experience working with the school district. Please make me feel welcome at my children's IEP meetings. Sometimes we need to be creative in finding a date and time that works for my family and for school staff. As a parent, I don't know what I don't know. Please teach me to be a knowledgeable participant in the transition planning process. Offer assistance in teaching me to advocate for my child. Once my children are out of school, I will need to be the case manager and advocate for my children in order for them to receive services and reach their full potential. Ask me my hopes and dreams for my children. Help me set the bar high. I love my children, and I will gladly share their strengths, interests, and areas of needs with you if you give me the time to speak. Begin talking about life after school early so I can address my fears. Try to remember that I'm not a teacher and I can get lost with all of the acronyms. Use family-friendly words at the IEP meetings. Adult agencies are new to my child and myself. Talk about them frequently and ask for permission to invite representatives to my child's IEP meetings. Working together, the possibilities are endless for my child's future.